All right. Hello and welcome to the BrickFilmer Podcast, a podcast series where I answer your questions regarding Lego stop motion animation. This is a little experimental project I'm trying out here, seeing different avenues of ways I can answer questions and stuff, and have an extra piece of content I can put out on YouTube. So we'll see how this series turns out, but for right now, let's get into answering some questions. Oh, by the way, in case you don't know, my name's Owen, and I own this channel that you're listening to. just in case you don't know. Okay. First question we have is from Nafe the Pilot. Hopefully I pronounced that right. He says, would you rather use an iPhone camera or a regular camera? Okay, so the short answer to that is I would totally rather use an actual DSLR camera than an iPhone camera. Not in every aspect though, because there are some limitations for when you animate with a DSLR. I'll get into that later, but the DSLR just produces such a good image, and not only that, but it also reduces light flicker a lot compared to an iPhone or any phone in general, because the phone, and this is the reason I upgraded from a phone to a DSLR for stop motion. The phone, at least my phone personally, created so much like digital light flicker that wasn't caused by my lighting in particular, but more so like the phone's sensor. So it got really frustrating to animate with my phone, so I just decided to upgrade to a DSLR, and it has been so nice to have. It's pricey, but it's so worth it, at least for me. And I'll go off on a little tangent here real quick. I don't just use my DSLR for just animation. I like to film like short films and stuff, and more video content like that, and photography and stuff. So and that's another reason I got the DSLR. So if you're that type of person that doesn't just do stop motion, but like wants to make short films and just higher quality videos, then I would totally recommend getting a DSLR. With that said, I know it is pretty pricey, but with that said, the DSLR for animation does come with a few limitations as opposed to the phone. One of the main limitations is that you can't actually put the camera on the set like you would your phone. You have to like prop it up on a tripod, or you could raise the set and put your camera on your table and just raise the set off the table, but like I've tried that and that hasn't worked out too well, only for like really specific scenes. But for the most part, you have to lock your camera on a tripod, which, it's fine until you want to do like camera movement or just more dynamic camera movement, where you want to like move around your character and, just more dynamic stuff like that. The DSLR is very limited in that regard. But other than that, and the price point, like I got my camera for like $300 on eBay with a lens, and there's a few other accessories included with that. But with all that being said, if you want to make like high quality animations and you're interested in making short films or video creation and you just want to get more into filmmaking in general, I would highly recommend you save up for a DSLR. And if you do choose to get a DSLR, definitely buy off eBay. Like, for instance, the reason I say that is my camera, the Canon SL2, is like $800 for like a new camera on Amazon with a kit lens. But on eBay, for just like a fairly used camera that looked brand new when I got it, it was only like, it was under $300 without a lens. Or actually, no, it did come with a lens. It wasn't the lens that I needed for animation, but it was still like $100 lens. And I got that for $300, under $300. And so that's why I say buy off eBay, because you'll save so much money. And yeah. Anyways, that's my thoughts on phone cameras versus regular cameras. I don't have much knowledge of webcams. I have seen people use webcams, and other than like the fact that it looks really grainy and bad quality and like low light scenes, it does look like a pretty solid option, and a lot cheaper too. They're around, I think around $50 for a webcam. So, and they have the ability to where you could just pretty much sticky tack them on the table because they're so small. I've personally looked into, even after getting a DSLR, I've looked into a bit about getting a webcam because I just like that idea of just having a camera on the set and just getting more dynamic angles and camera movement. And I might get one. Not anytime soon, I don't think. But if I really wanted a really dynamic scene, I would probably look into getting a webcam. Excuse me. But yeah, that's also something worth looking into if you want a cheaper option and you don't want to have your camera like locked on a tripod. It isn't as high quality as a DSLR, but it also won't flicker. It shouldn't flicker like the phone, because I think there's a real sensor in there, I think there's more real elements in the webcam than there is a phone camera. I want to say, I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, that's another camera worth looking into if you want a more budget option and you want to get excuse me, and you want to get away from your phone that just flickers like crazy. Then again, it might just be my phone, because I have seen like tons of animators using their phones and there's like zero light flicker. So I'm still trying to figure it out with my phone, even to this day, of why it's flickering. But yeah, that's my answer to that question. Went on a little rant there, but hey, that's what this podcast is all about. We're going on rants. Anyways, hope that answered your question. Moving on to the next question by The Living Brick. One question, what got you into animation, and what is your motivation to continue? Ooh, this is a big question, actually. There's a lot into this question. What got me into animation? It was, oh goodness, like almost 6 years ago. Actually, yeah. Around 6 years ago to this day, I saw online a Lego animation. It was a really bad animation, but I didn't know that at the time. It looked amazing. It was like an Obi-Wan versus Anakin battle on Mustafar, little stop motion. And yeah, remembering it now, I just remember how choppy and horrible it was. But back then, it looked amazing, and I'm like, how did they do that? So I went down a rabbit hole and ended up buying a book by Klutz called something like Make Your Own Lego Movies or something. And I got that book. It led me to download Stop Motion Studio and try out some animations. Actually, it came with a little pack of like little minifigure accessories, and from that pack, that's actually where my minifigures like hair came from, and face in my profile picture. Like the face and hair actually came from that little pack, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's how I started. I just started making little animations. I didn't really care about the animation quality because it all looked good in my eyes. Like, I animated at like 3 to 5 frames per second. Made these big, like, I don't know, 2-minute long blockbusters. That's what it felt like. And I just really just animated and just made the story as I went along. And you can really see that in my oldest animations. Like, they were just slapped together. I didn't even do any scripting or anything. I just started animating, rushed the scenes like crazy, and just built the story just like how I would if I just played with Legos. And that's literally how I built the story. I was just playing with Legos, but with a camera. Oh, man. And, man, it was just so fun. I could not stop making animations. And I still, to this day, just really enjoy making animations. And I never took a break from animations. Well, I did take one break. It was like a 6-month long break. And because I thought, like, oh, I grew out of stop motion. I'm done. I made some cool films. I'm happy with what I made. Then like 6 months later, me and my brother were like watching some Star Wars stop motions, and we wanted to make something like that. So that's what got me back into it. And I started working on that, which is now, that was actually what I started working on, was actually the beta version of the Iron Squad, which is what I'm working on right now. So that's pretty cool. That's actually what got me back into making animations, so really cool. Yeah, that's what got me back into making animations. And ever since then, it was at that moment, I think it was like 2 years ago is when I got back into making animations after like the 6-month break. And prior to that, I never really focused on improving my animations, just like making more stories and maybe taking more frames, to make a little bit smoother animations. But I never like looked up any tutorials or, tried to find out how to improve. I just did a bunch of animations, just focusing on the story, really. But after that 6-month break is when I really started watching YouTube videos on like tutorials and stuff, and that's when I really started improving. And that's also around when I started just sticking to a specific frame rate, and I'm glad I did that because that's when I really started improving. And yeah, that was like 2 years ago, and ever since then I've just been constantly improving and trying new things, and yeah, it's been great. And I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. And to answer your question, my motivation to continue, this past year of just like being on YouTube has really motivated me to keep going. Because prior to that, I was only like posting on like an old, like, not old, but like, it's actually kind of new, but it's a not well-known social media platform. And I averaged like 100 views on there, and then like dwindled down to like 18 views and stuff. And I did build like a pretty good community on there, and I just rallied up a bunch of animators on that platform and just started commenting on their videos, and they started commenting on my videos, and then they started commenting on each other's videos, and it was great. It was like a nice little small community, and that's what kept me going. But then when that kind of dwindled, I was like, maybe I should just start posting on YouTube. And then once I did that, all the support like from the stop motion community like really got me going. I'm like, I love this. This is awesome. Not only am I making these Lego animations that I enjoy making, but I also am in the midst of like a big like supportive community of animators who do the same thing that I do. And it was just great. It's been great. And I'm constantly being motivated to continue. And yeah, it's been awesome. And also, another reason I'm motivated to continue is to just, I'm really wanting to transition into the phase of just teaching others how to make animations. Hence this podcast. And that's just really something I really found that I enjoy doing, is teaching how to make animations. I would almost say I enjoy teaching how to make animations more than I like making animations. Because, yeah, that's a whole nother rant I could go on. But, I'm just kind of in the teaching phase because I just know so much, and it takes so long to make a good animation. And I'm just like, I just want to teach. So, yeah, that's another reason why I'm motivated to continue, is to just bring more value to the stop motion community. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, we're only 17 minutes in. Okay, I'm aiming for like half an hour per podcast, so I'm making good time. We only got like 3 more questions to answer. I'm thinking of averaging like 5 questions per podcast. I think that's a good average for like a 30 to 45 minute podcast series. Yeah. All right, this next question is from Starface, really good animator. He has a lot of questions. I'm going to try to go over them fairly quickly because he's got a lot of questions. He says, how long have you been animating? What's your knowledge on weight and follow-through / flow movement? How can I get better on smaller movements like picking stuff up, character movement, and just random objects in the background? And how much money do you save from Trader Joe's? Okay, that last question was, for those of you who saw the animating blindfolded video, I put a paper bag over my head, and anyways, that's an inside thing. But for how long have you been animating? I've been animating for, actually, this month will be 6 years, which is wild because, man, animation has just been like a part of my childhood, which is awesome. I'm glad I stuck with it. I have no regrets with that. What's your knowledge on weight and follow-through / flow of movement? Okay, weight. The biggest thing with weight is one of the parts that tend to be overlooked, I've noticed, is like a good understanding of your frame rate and the timing within your frame rate. Like I know people who like switch between like 12 FPS to 15 FPS to 18 FPS like every other animation. And I mean, that's fine if you want to experiment with different frame rates, but you really want to major in like a specific frame rate. Is major the right word? I don't know. Anyways, you want to like stick with a specific frame rate like I did with, because I've been animating at 12 FPS for like 2 years, and that's when I really started improving. But yeah, just stick with a frame rate. Like 12 to 15 is like the sweet spot for like efficient and like smooth animations. You can even go lower if you want. You can still make it work if you want more stylized animations. But you really just want to stick with a frame rate and really experiment with it, study like the timing of it, and get really good at uh 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 ah, really good at anticipating. That's the word. Get really good at anticipating like how long a certain movement will last, without even looking back at the animation. Once you do that, that'll be a solid building block for learning how to establish weight in your animations, because now you have a really good idea of how many frames you need to take for a certain object to look heavy or light. That's a big component. The other thing is, pretty straightforward, but for heavier objects, just move the minifigure less if he's like lifting the object, and just take more frames, and just think of like what you would do if you lift a heavy object. I know that's easier said than done with animation, but like, yeah, with lighter objects, just make them pick it up easier and faster. With heavier objects, just make them pick it up slower, and maybe shaking a little bit if it's really heavy. Yeah, that's pretty much it with like weight. And follow through. Follow through. That is, excuse me. Silent burp. Follow through is pretty much just what it is just following through with a movement. So like making sure you ease out of a movement and don't stop midway through is pretty much the premise of follow through. I don't really have much to say on that right now. I feel like there's more to add there, but I don't really know what to say there. But yeah, another thing for like smoother animations, and I'm sure you know this, Starface, is to follow arcs and consistent arcs and curves, so that way you're not like jagged, your animation doesn't look jagged and going from left to right every frame, and follows a clean arc. And this can be like a curve, this could be a straight line, whatever fits your animation best in the specific scene. But yeah, the main thing with choppy movements is that minifigures look like, I like to say, they look like they're hitting a brick wall when they're like moving from left to right, really rapidly, and it looks like they're jittering. That's one of the main parts of choppy movement. So yeah, if you just follow a clean and consistent arc, of course with easing in and easing out, that'll ensure smooth movement. Let's see. How can I get better on smaller movements like picking stuff up, character movement, and just random objects in the background? I'm going to be honest, I am not your go-to guy for making small movements, because I cannot keep a minifigure to stay still, which is why I love animating snappy movements where I just have to move the minifigure like for 2 frames or 3 frames for a movement, and just rely on like key poses for like dialogue scenes, so that way I don't have to move them with like little increments, and I could just snap them to one pose or another and just ease out and it looks good, sometimes skipping the ease in movement just for simplicity. But yeah, I am not your go-to guy with small movements. Let's just say that. Okay, that wraps up that question. Okay, going to our second to last question, we have a question from Ian J.T. Gove. I think I'm pretty confident that's how I pronounce that. A somewhat general question for the podcast. What are your tips on pre-production planning before you actually film a scene? I usually have a general idea of what the scene is supposed to be, but for all the specifics like camera placement or minifigure placement / movement, I'll kind of just wing it and make it up on the spot, which isn't very organized and sometimes even creates continuity issues with the next / previous scene. So I'd love to hear any tips and tricks that you might have. Okay. I actually am about in the same boat as you, Ian. I don't really pre-plan my scenes. I have like a rough idea of how I want my scenes to be. I'm speaking about like smaller brick films, like less than a minute, or like tutorial videos. I just roughly plan like, okay, this is what I want my character to do. This is the angle I want. And if for like simple films, I just wing it and just make mental notes of what I want. However, for like a big project like the Iron Squad, which is going to be like 8 to 10 minutes long, I storyboard every single scene and include all the dialogue in there, and I do it like that so that way I don't miss out on any scenes or angles that I like, and have a more organized workflow. And of course, I change the storyboards while I'm animating to better suit what I'm actually animating as opposed to what I thought I would be animating, if that makes sense. With like timing and stuff, sometimes I have to add an extra scene to space out the timing and make it flow better. So there is still like improvisation even after you make a storyboard. But yeah, I just, for like big projects like that, I'd highly recommend getting like some, like a storyboarder software. Like I use Storyboarder on the computer. It's a free software and it's worked great. If you don't want like a digital software, you can just look up like storyboard template downloads that you could just print out on paper. I used to do that all the time. That was great. But yeah, for like big projects, I'd highly recommend storyboarding. It does add it's just another thing you have to do for pre-production. I know, but it does help a lot whenever you're animating, especially with continuity. Like with more than 2 characters, like I'm animating like, oh goodness, like 5 characters at a time, and getting the continuity is definitely time consuming, especially when you don't have a storyboard. So yeah, that's why I recommend storyboards. If you don't want to go all out with storyboards, you could just like make little shot lists of like, okay, let me describe this shot of what I want when this character says this, or when this thing happens. I want this shot of this happening, and just a simple shot list can get you by. For like smaller projects, you could do that if you want a more organized. If you want to be more organized when you animate, and you can even do that with like everything if you want, if that's something that helps you out. But yeah, for like small projects, I'd say just wing it. Just make mental notes of what you want, and it really just depends on the person. Like if you like, I like to be more on paper and organized before I animate. Typically, for like bigger stuff. For smaller stuff, I wing it, but yeah, it all depends on the person. I know animators who are making like, I don't know, 15-minute long brick films, and they have every single scene and piece of dialogue in their head. They don't have a single script, a single storyboard. It is all in their head, and I'm sitting there wondering, like, how do you do that? What if you forget a line and you have to rethink the whole story because you forgot a key line? Like, what? How do you do that? But yeah. Anyways, yeah, storyboards. That's what I recommend. In short, shot lists and storyboards. All right. The last question is from I'm Outdoor 2. That's an interesting channel name. Question. How do you improve camera movement to give it a more action movie feel? Okay. I'm guessing you mean like a handheld look like in movies. Oh, that's tricky because I tried to do that before in like my Mando versus Ninja brick film. And some people said they like it. I personally think it looked a little jarring and redundant. And it's really hard to make camera movement not feel jagged and just repetitive and make it flow with the animation. That's a tricky one because It's so, oh man. I'm gonna link a tutorial down below from Nonstop Animations. He just made a tutorial on this very thing of how to do camera movement. I'm gonna link that down in the description below. I think podcasts have descriptions, right? Yeah. I'm new to this whole podcast thing. I don't even know if podcasts have a comment section. I don't even know. That would be a problem because I'd recommend people to leave comments under the podcast with questions they have. Hopefully they have comment sections. But yeah, if there is a description under the podcast, I will leave a link to Nonstop Animations camera movement tutorial. It's pretty simple, but it does help to get a better understanding of how to do camera movement. But in short, you really just want to treat your camera like a character and like ease in and ease out, and also with like action and stuff, you want to like follow the character. Like if they get punched and then they get launched to the right, maybe follow them a bit and then just have the camera stop and bounce back in place, and just think of like having the camera like play around with the character and like move with them. And but yeah, camera movement, oh man, that's another thing with DSLRs. It's hard to do camera movement because it's not as simple as just propping your phone on a table and just shaking it around. Like I have to actually like pan with the camera. I can't move the camera physically, like from left to right. I have to pan from like rotation wise. And that adds another complicated element to DSLRs and animation, but you gotta roll with it and find out what works. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say with the camera movement. Definitely check out the tutorial. It's really good. I was gonna link something else in the description. I forgot. I thought I made like a mental note to like mention something. Nope. I must have been thinking of something else. Okay. Yeah, I'll link that tutorial down in the description, and hopefully that helps. Alright. Look at there. We're at 32 minutes. Almost 34 minutes. 33 minutes, goodness. That's actually pretty cool. I don't know about you, but I thoroughly, like, really enjoyed doing this. I kind of procrastinated this a bit because I didn't know how it would turn out. But man, I enjoyed this because I rant a lot. Even like, this may sound weird, but I even like rant to myself, which is pretty much what I'm doing right now, about like camera stuff and like animation stuff. More so camera stuff, but animation stuff as well. So this is really good for me too. I really enjoy doing this. This is great. Oh man, I get to just answer people's questions on just propping my mic up and just answering people's questions and going on rants and stuff. This is awesome. I'm definitely doing more of these. I don't care if nobody watches these podcasts. I am doing more of these because this is just great for me. May sound a little selfish, but hey, it's my channel. I can do whatever I want. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. This was, did I mention the episode at the beginning? Did I mention, like, welcome to episode 1 of the BrickFilmer Podcast? I don't think I did that. I just think I went, like, welcome to the BrickFilmer Podcast. I didn't mention episode 1. Huh. Oh, that's fine. In the thumbnail, there'll be, like, number 1, so it'll be pretty easy to figure that out. Anyways, yeah. I'm going to take a moment here and just talk about upload schedules with podcasts and stuff. I was originally thinking, like, making, like, monthly podcast episodes. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I could do every other week. But honestly, I don't know if this would be too much and if I would run out of questions. But maybe I could do this every week and just keep a consistent upload schedule. So that way, even when I'm not making videos and I'm working on other stuff, I can still upload podcasts and you guys can still, get some good nuggets from them. Even if I'm like right now I'm trying to make this tutorial video and it's, I haven't been animating much recently, I'll be honest. I'm trying to get back into it and try to animate more with the time I have, because like right now I'm animating like 7 seconds of dialogue for like 2 hours of animation. And I just want to animate more efficiently. It's really what I'm working on. So, with that said, I really enjoy doing these podcasts. It's just awesome. Hopefully you guys like it. Anyways, I'm going to end here before I go on a rant with something else. Let me know in the comments any questions you have that you would like me to answer in the podcast. I know there's a couple questions I didn't go over that some of you left. And the reason for that is just the question was not framed right for the podcast. Like it just wasn't framed right. So if that makes sense, like I like to read the questions like word for word. So anyways, hopefully you know what I mean. Anyways, I'm going to end here. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Yeah, hopefully another podcast. What day is it? The 6th. So if I'm doing Friday podcast episodes, I guess. And if I don't upload another podcast on the 13th, you will see one on the 20th. So, with that said, thank you so much for watching, and tune back in for another episode. This has been... No, I'm not going to do a cheesy outro. This has been the episode 1 of the BrickFilmer Podcast. Tune in next time. No. Anyways. Yeah, bye.